We are back here at the ATA studios. Phone Master Dre, of course, is over in the city of New Orleans at the Fastport studios. Thank you, Dre, for what has been a very easy morning. The decision was made by our good friend the Turtle, the terrific Terrapin Tara, to make sure that we had long-form conversations today as opposed to short-form. Bruce Townshend joins us this morning. He is the co-founder of Vetted Employer. Good morning to you, by the way. And we've got your partner on the phone, too, George. Hey, George, good morning.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Loud and clear. Can you hear
we got you, George.
We got
good
you,
morning.
George. Welcome aboard, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great and really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Oh, you got it, brother. Okay. Bruce, I have known you for quite some time, and we've been actually talking about so much of what you used to do, and it's so important, by the way. One of the things about being vet ready, I'll give an example right now. Hey, Steve, you know my National Guard service is coming up at the end of the month, and I wanted to make sure we're all squared away. Dude, we got you. It's all taken care of. You go do what you got to do. If you're able to say that in many ways means you're vet ready. That's vet ready. That's one of the key components, I think, of being vet ready, that you're honoring the service as it continues on. Is that fair?
That is very fair, more than fair, as a matter of fact. And you know what, a lot of people they don't equate the serving National Guard and reserve component members in the same manner as a veteran who served in the active component for any number of years, whether it was 2, 3, 4, or a full career. My background, I used to work for a federal government program called ESGR, Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. And a wonderful program. I miss the folks there. So if any of you are listening, guys, I do miss you. But then I retired from the federal government a few months ago, and George and I got together, and we've started Vetted Employers because we want to help companies be veteran ready, veteran thriving, veteran preferred. We want companies, employers, in every type of industry and field that you can imagine, to go out looking for new employees who are veterans and make their employees who are veterans recognized and feel like they're valued.
It's crucial. George, let me kind of ask you this, because I've known Bruce for a while, but talk to me a little bit about your own kind of background, your own story here, why this is an important issue to you, and then I've got some real kind of nitty-gritty practical questions. Talk to us a little bit about yourself and why this issue is so important, because this is the kind of thing, when you start this kind of business, this is a passion project as much as it's anything else.
It definitely is, and I don't want to blow my own horn very much, but I served a combined total of 28 years in the Army and the Army Reserve. About 14 of it was active, and then the other about 14 of it was in the reserve component. And when I switched off active duty, went into the Army Reserve, a couple different jobs I had, but one of them was with the United States Postal Service. And when deployments came up, as they did, the reserve component got tapped to support, Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm back in the late 80s, early 90s. The reserve component has been continually called upon since then, and so I had a deployment come up for Operation Iraqi Freedom, and when my deployment was over, I had several other smaller periods of duty in addition to those weekend drills that we call them in the reserves. And my boss at the Postal Service at that time, this was up in the state of Washington, he grew reasonably frustrated with my frequent absences, and I always communicated them well in advance. But I understood his frustration and the frustration of my fellow management teammates and the frustration of the crew. So when you have somebody like me who has to go frequently for a period of time, couple of weeks, couple of months, and the last one I went home was actually almost 3 years, I understand where that frustration comes from. I will tell you that it got better when my very first interaction with ESGR came when I presented that that postmaster with what we called my boss is a Patriot Award. And it was, a nice little document that said, hey, Ron, thank you for supporting me as a Army Reserve member. And it was signed by the Secretary of Defense. And I could tell you that his attitude immediately after that
by the
changed.
way, and this is something important too, George. That I'd like you to kind of talk about this as well. It's important too that we have to honor not just the men and women who served, but the men and women who work with them to make sure that they can. Because often, especially when the business is smaller, look, the USPS. That's got some scope, but I get it. There's a lot of people who depend upon that kind of stuff. But to make sure that we honor the people who are actually honoring those who serve. George, we'd like a little bit of your background as well, too, my friend. How are you doing over there?
Yes, I'm doing great. Happy to give you a little background. Bruce's experience in this area comes from personal experience. Nothing better prepares you to help other reservists deal with challenges at their civilian employers, like personal experiences Bruce had experiencing these sorts of challenges himself. For me, I actually didn't serve in the military. I ended up here, really it started at military times, Army times, Navy times, Marine Corps times, Air Force times. I was their veteran transition reporter for some time. Just kind of writing articles.
I'm sorry, George. When were you there? When were you doing that? By the way, I'm an old reporter too. I've done a little bit of military coverage myself, so we probably walked a lot of the same terra firma. When were you there?
I bet we did. It was about 2012 to about 2020, I should say. I'm doing this off the top of my head, which, as an old journalist, makes me nervous. I like to have the dates right in front of me.
Let me tell you how old I am, brother. I'm getting out of it right as you're getting into it. So if you're getting into it at 12, I'm starting to kind of like, I got to do other things with my life. That's enough of these guys.
There you go. There you go.
So, but you have firsthand experience. You know stories. You know the stories of these men, don't you, and these women?
I do. I got to cover so much of, kind of starts with policy, lawmakers, both federal and state level, even localities, kind of setting what the rules or hopes or goals or expectations are, and then that kind of filters on down. So I had kind of that top-down view, but also very much the bottom-up view. How are all of these policies, plans actually impacting individual service members, veterans, Guard and Reserve members, military spouses even on the ground. So did that with Military Times for a number of years, and as part of that, I ran Military Times Best for Vets series, Best for Vets employers, Best for Vets colleges.
I know that series. I just realized where I know your name from. That's how I know your name. That's how I know your name. I know that series. Well done. Well done.
Sir. Yes, sir. So, I was at the helm of that for several years, and, that really gave me a very good ground level understanding of what employers can do, what some are doing, where some fall short in meeting transitioning service members, kind of where they need to be met to be a standout veteran-ready employer. So I did that with Military Times for several years, had a similar kind of project evaluating and awarding top veteran employers with a financial services company called Vets Indexes for a few years. And just now, Bruce and I are just starting Vetted Employers, where, we kind of have two main missions. One is something very similar to what I did at Military Times and later Vets Indexes, asking employers in a survey a bunch of questions about their policies, practices, and most important, outcomes, what actually happens to their veteran employees once they get hired, and awarding the best organizations with awards kind of commensurate with their level of commitment to veterans. But that's kind of just the first component. The second component, which I think makes vetted employers very different from the organizations I worked with in the past. Those organizations would do a really good job evaluating how well organizations' policies, were set up to help veterans, But when it came to actually helping them implement improvements, neither organization was really structured to provide that sort of direct support. And part of our thinking...
George, I want to see if I can get this right. You tell me if I get this right. Evaluation,
Please.
there's other people who do the evaluation work. It's evaluation and implementation is what you guys are talking about here. You take the next step.
That is exactly right.
That's what the vet is. You vet it so that you can take the next step. That's really what it kind of comes down to. That's ingenious, by the way, because you're right. There's a lot of people, including you, who have done a great job following outcomes. But the fact of the matter is, and tell me what I get wrong here, you guys are looking at the outcomes from the most positive standpoint and seeing if you can apply the positive outcomes to other people who are getting ready to do this and help them avoid the pitfalls of the negative ones. You're trying to lay out a blueprint for your potential customers and clients to show them this is the way to succeed best. How did I do?
You know what, George, I'm going to take this. You did pretty well. There's one other aspect to it, though, and a lot of that, some companies don't measure that outcome at all. They're not measuring their ROI.
They're just feeling good about themselves.
Exactly. They say, hey, we have a veterans, we're veteran ready. We have a veteran support group. And to them, that's checking the box. And that's wonderful in and of itself. But what are you doing to make yourself, more attractive to the prospective veteran employee? What are you doing to make yourself more attractive to that veteran who's already on your payroll, who might be looking for something else, looking for some advancement? What are you doing to make that veteran want to stay with you and help your company grow? That's what Vetted Employers is going to be about, is helping you get that next step.
That's the third component to anything about that is the fact that we're not just talking. Because here's the thing. There could be a company that's like, we're not hiring any more veterans. Why? We don't need to hire anybody else. We have 3 veterans on staff. Are we doing all we can do to make sure that they can be all they can be? Notice I slipped that in for you. You're in the Army, just like my dad, so I thought I would get that over the fence for you. But are we helping people be all they can be? Like I said, so somebody could come to you and say, Bruce, I'm not hiring anytime soon, but I do have 2 guys and a gal on my staff that are all veterans. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. What can I do? That you guys can actually help them with that.
Precisely.
That's outstanding. Go ahead, George.
Let me just jump in to say I really appreciate the example that you just pulled out because what you're focusing on is what happens after we hire that veteran. And I think too often, especially companies, employers that are new to the veteran employment space, they view hiring the veteran as the finish line. Okay, I hired a veteran. I'm all done. I don't have anything else to do. Mission accomplished. I don't have to think about anything veteran related again. That's not the finish line. In many ways, that's the starting line, especially for veterans in their first careers after separating from the military. That non-retention rate is very, very high. Too many organizations build veteran hiring pipelines and don't put a lot of thought into actually retaining and supporting the veterans after they bring them on board. So these great pipelines they build actually just turn into revolving doors where a whole bunch of veterans come into their organization and then within 3, 6, 9, 12 months after, they're coming right back out. And, that's a huge expense for the organization. So where your head is at is very much aligned with where our heads are at. It's not just about helping you hire veterans, but also helping you set up your organization so that veterans decide this is a place that they want to stay and build their careers, and you don't find yourself a few months down the road looking to, again, fill a position that you just hired for a few months ago.
I'm actually going to take it one step further. I know you guys have thought about this, but this is something that doesn't get talked about a lot. Look, we talk about the idea of the benefits for the company of bringing in a veteran, what the veteran's skills are, what their leadership skills are, what their ability to follow orders is, what their ability in regards to be trainable. That's one of the biggest benefits. Everybody's heard that. This is what we haven't talked about, the benefit to the company, because and I'd love to hear both of you. We'll start with Bruce on this and then go to George. Look, we're here at the Vet Ready Summit. We got a lot of friends, Bruce, a lot of people we've known for many years, and a lot of great associations. The company doesn't realize that if it does this properly, And by the way, sometimes doing the right thing can be a very profitable enterprise if you know exactly what you're doing.
Exactly.
Because you're opening yourself up to associations and organizations that are going to have monies available, that are going to have networking opportunities available, that somebody who directly embraces what it means to be vet ready and to set this up properly. Look, there's some heavy lifting that has to be done, and there are pains in the ass like Bruce who are going to drive the people over at the USPS absolutely crazy. But they're also going to have associations and networks of people you can meet, of potential clients that you can get down the line, of all of this stuff. It makes sense from a good business standpoint to do this, not just for making sure the veteran has a proper transition and has all he or she needs, but I think it sets you up business-wise for contacts, associations, organizations that are going to put you in a better place business-wise down the line if you have the patience to see it through at its maximum version.
That's I really, I don't know how to add on to everything that you just said there, but I can expand a little bit. When you do that, when you hire the veteran, you treat the veteran well, you retain that veteran in your workforce. Veterans attract other veterans, and another aspect of this, another side of the die, is that veteran attracts veteran spouses, and veteran spouses attract other veteran spouses, and that's a really strong and growing part of the job market too. And a lot of companies will sort of lump together, veterans and veteran spouses and Guard and Reserve members all sort of in the same bucket. So you really are investing when you hire that veteran and those veterans. You're investing your company's future by treating them well. And I want to make this very, very clear. I can speak as myself. I don't want special treatment just because I'm a veteran. I want to be recognized that I did serve my country, and unlike other,
I want all that I've earned.
All that I've earned. Unlike other, categories in the workforce, a veteran actually stepped up and did something to earn that status. Nobody is born a veteran. Okay, right. That's that. So.
It's a genuine entitlement. You are actually entitled to it.
You've earned it. It's an earned entitlement is what it is. And thank you for clarifying that. The company, hiring veterans, retaining veterans, it's all to the good. It is all long-term profitability, and it will do nothing but enhance your image when you make yourself known as a veteran-friendly, veteran-ready organization.
You go in for a bid for a company, and you're going against another company. And the guy who runs the company you're making your bid to is a veteran. At some point, the person who runs the other company knows how you treat the veterans in. It is a hair-thin decision. It is a coin-toss decision. At the end of the day, those kind of associations and those kind of networks, it's, by the way, enlightened self-interest. It's not a bad thing, guys, by the way. Sometimes doing the right things is good politics. Sometimes doing the right thing is good business. And you should celebrate those moments when it shows up, not run away from them. George, I'd like to get your thoughts on all what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important to focus on the business case for hiring veterans. I think too often the focus is on veterans kind of as charity cases, as people who need help from a company. They need to get hired. They need a job. Maybe that was the case, say, 10, 15 years ago, in the 2012, 2013 range. There was really high veteran unemployment, and, veterans were very much in need of jobs. Now that dynamic is kind of flipped, where veteran unemployment is actually at a much better place than overall unemployment. And I think companies, the smart companies, have figured out hiring veterans isn't something I do because it makes the company look good. Hiring veterans is something I do because it helps the company's bottom line. And there's a number of ways that, veteran employees, your average veteran employee is going to make a big impact and noticeable difference in your organization in a way that a civilian employee won't. You guys were talking earlier about, veteran status is something that you earn, unlike, many other kind of demographic markers of various employees. That is 100% true. And it's also, if you think about it a little more deeply, you earn it by being trained by, one of the greatest, perhaps the greatest, large organization in the entire world, the United States military. You get really great both technical training in a lot of areas that are very relevant to, civilian roles. So great hard skills, IT, logistics, cyber, the list goes on and on. But maybe even more importantly, soft skills, leadership, teamwork, problem solving, and tenacity. The things that, time and again, survey after survey, separate your really good, difference-making, high-performing employees from folks who are just kind of there sitting on the clock. You are getting highly trained, very dependable workers by hiring veterans. So this is something that, a company, when you're talking to an executive about we need to spend some money on this big major initiative, they're going to want to hear the business case. They're going to want to see, how does this make a difference for the overall organization? How does this budget expenditure lead to more revenue, more possibilities for the organization going forward? And this is how, because you're getting uniquely trained, uniquely skilled employees.
Permission to speak freely. That's one of the biggest things. I think you get initiative too. I think you get somebody who understands the difference between going out above their skis and actually being like, I think maybe I think you get people who will analyze a situation and understand the difference between the objective and simply executing a series of events one after the other. I think that's one of the most important things. Veterans tend to read websites. Veterans tend to actually ask the question, what is the mission? What is the purpose? What is the point? What direction are we headed in? And how can we all get there together? It's a really crucial thing, and I can't emphasize that enough. It's so important. It is so important. Let me ask you in regards to, and by the way, guys, before we go any further, why don't we I didn't do the bureaucracy of this. The website, for those who are interested in finding out what these guys do, is vetted, VETTED, employers.com, vettedemployers.com, talking with George and Bruce, my good friend Bruce, about this company. How long you guys have been going with this? How long is this going?
The ink on that business card that you just read that off of, Jimmy, it's probably still wet.
I love it.
We have well,
you just got out of the game. I mean, you just made a decision to kind of move back into the private sector again.
That's true. October 31st. I'm sorry, September 30th was my official retirement
on that. I remember
appreciate it very much.
Thinking about that and talking about that. I mean, you've done your bit. You've done your bit. You've served your country. It's time to kind of serve those who help serve their country, but in many ways it's time for you to kind of bring that expertise into the private sector.
Well, and to me, it's another way to continue to give back to the veterans community.
I think so too.
And I can't think of a better person to do it with than George. You could hear the passion in his voice there.
Well, yeah, and the idea that, and George, I'm going to give you a compliment here, so, this is what's crucial. And by the way, I'm going to tell Bruce something. Bruce, I'm going to have a message for you to deliver to George afterwards. But I'm going to say this, too, is that so much of this, though, is about the importance of understanding. One of the best ways I think you can be vet ready is by doing exactly what George used to do, which is figuring out how to tell these men and women stories. Because if you actually understand one of the things that employers don't do, I think when they're hiring people, and this isn't just with veterans, it's with everybody, they don't really ask them their bios. They want to know, they get the perfunctory, tell me a little bit about yourself kind of thing. But they really don't take the time to ask the question of what's most important to you. What is really important to you? And to ask it a couple of times. People say, well, I want to have a job, I want to go home. But it's like, what is really important to you? And I think that, telling these people stories, when people tell you their stories, you actually learn what's important because what they choose to tell you tells you what's important. And so it makes a lot of sense to have somebody like George to be involved in this process. George, I was wondering, last question before you run out of time here, if there are any stories of transition that you told over your time as a journalist that really to this day have stuck with you, any that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Gosh, it is hard to
It's not fair, is
narrow
it?
it
I'm not
down
fair.
to to that of just kind of a single case or a single service member. And in a lot of the work that I've been doing, in recent years, it's been focusing really not even on the veterans themselves so much as the organizations that they're working for. And I can tell you, there are so many organizations where, when they first came across me, they stumbled across maybe one of the awards programs I was running, and maybe their boss said, "Oh, hey, I saw our competitor got this award. What do we have to do to get it?" And a lot of times this is an organization that doesn't have anyone who is kind of dedicated to recruiting veterans or trying to support veteran employees, doesn't have a veteran employee resource group, doesn't have training set up to either onboard veteran new hires or to help, say, recruiters, employee support personnel better understand, reading military resumes, for example. So many organizations come to us kind of brand new, not knowing what to do, but with their hearts in the right place, wanting to find ways to, help veterans, not just because it's a good thing to do, but also because they recognize the positive impact that can have on their organizations. And I have been amazed at how organizations can just go from zero, we know nothing about this, we have zero expertise in this space, we need a whole lot of help, to being one of the very best employers out there. And I think, the key is knowing your strengths, but also importantly, knowing your weaknesses, knowing the areas you need to improve, and then having an idea of exactly what you need to do to improve it. And I think, we kind of built Vetted Employers with exactly that in mind, exactly helping organizations figure out through our surveys exactly where here's an area where you're doing a lot better than everyone else, here's an area where you have a lot of room to improve, and then we'll take that extra step and actually help you put in place the training programs, the policies, the follow-up communications that are key to being a top veteran employer. So I would encourage anyone who's listening to go to that website that we mentioned a few minutes ago, vettedemployers.com, check out our main initiatives, sign up for our survey, and reach out if you would like to learn more about the ways we can help you kind of directly build a strong veteran employment program. We can help from soup to nuts, and we are eager to do it. So, look forward to hearing from everyone.